New car pricing is way out of control. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about former Ford CEO Mark Fields saying that you need to make over $100,000 per year to afford a brand new car in this year, 2023. Now, that is a ridiculous number. All the way back in the day, during the Al Bundy, Married with Children, 1970s, 1980s, early 90s days, you could work a regular job and get a brand new car, and it wasn't a big deal. I think my dad bought a Toyota truck in the early 80s for like $4,000 brand new cash. $4,000. Try to get a new truck nowadays, even like a Tacoma, like the lowest end truck with no options, you paying at least $45,000 bare minimum for a new car. Now, you can get a used car for a little bit cheaper, but since there is a shortage of used cars, because it's like, why would I sell my used car or give it away, whatever, trade it to get a new car if I can't afford a new car? I'm going to hang on to my old beater until the wheels fall off. Same thing with the housing shortage going on right now, but that's a different story, and I digress. Let's get into the video. My man saying that you got to make $100,000 a year to afford a brand new car in this year, 2023. And of course, as always, I will link to the video in the description. If you're on IG, visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
If I expand this out more broadly to pricing, particularly here in the U.S., it almost feels like the auto industry is going through something kind of similar to the housing industry. It's a sector that tends to be more...
I called it, didn't I?
Interest rate sensitive because people are taking out loans against new and used cars. You've had these supply demand imbalances with supply not there in recent years in the pandemic, and it seems to be holding up. Yes, prices are down if we look at Manheim year on year, but still so elevated versus just a couple of years ago. Where do we go from here? And I guess, how does that factor in then to, let's just start there. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think overall, Morgan, what you're still seeing a lot of pent-up demand in the marketplace. I mean, with the supply chain issues over the last couple of years, inventories right now are still nowhere near where they're usually are at this point in time of the year, although they're up 70% more or less from last year, and that's why you're seeing some of the automakers increase incentives. But I think, to your point, when you look at what's happened with pricing, I mean, the average new car loan is over $760, which is up about 30 to 35% versus where it was back in 2020.
So I'm thinking, is he saying that's your car payment per month, $760? That's crazy. That's high for the average. That's a lot.
And the same thing for used cars. So you have a situation in which affordability, literally, you have to make over $100,000 a year just to afford a new car. And what you're seeing in the marketplace and what you started to see in just this past couple of months, you're seeing prices start to come down. The average transaction prices are off their highs that you saw in December and September of last year. And I think you'll continue to see that. But it's all buttressed by a lot of pent-up demand that's still out there in the marketplace and will bleed off over time.
And you know what? What's making the average price of vehicles increase is the electric vehicles. These are going to be more expensive than your internal combustible engine. It's going to be more expensive. So that's going to make the prices even higher. And as states try to require you to purchase EVs, those states are going to have much higher transaction averages than other states. It's crazy. But we're being told that it's for our best interest. How is it for our best interest when it's going to really hurt my wallet? Oh, and something else, to talk about charging and all that kind of stuff. You know, when I go to these gas stations that have the EV sections, people are like trapped in their cars. It takes a long time to charge these vehicles. I could put gas in my car in under 5 minutes. And I just pull up to the pump, select what I want, put the pump in the tank, fill up, and go about my day. You have a Tesla or some other fully electric and you got to go to a charging station, good luck. You're going to be there for a while. I've seen people in their cars looking just crazy, like they're being held hostage on a computer. I mean, it's a mess. You might as well just leave your vehicle on the charger and go watch Oppenheimer and come back. It might be done. I'm exaggerating, but you understand what I mean. The technology is not really there, and they're expensive, which is going to drive the price through the roof.
Mark, zoom out for me here. Talk about the U.S. automakers. If I were an investor, I'd be afraid to buy the domestic automakers when EVs are the future. They take fewer people to make, but the United Auto Workers are pushing for a contract here that one might argue is going to create some structural challenges for the U.S.-based industry. What's the counter argument?
Well, first off, again, when you look at this transition to EVs and you look at the average age of what they call the vehicle park or the population of vehicles here in the U.S., it's over 12 and a half years old. So that will get turned over time. Vehicles are getting older. They need to be replaced. To your point, John, when you think about the UAW contract coming up, labor represents plus or minus around 10% of the cost of a vehicle. That being said, these negotiations are pretty pivotal because when you look at the all-in labor costs for, let's call it the Detroit 3, they're about $65 an hour versus the import non-union companies, which are about $55 an hour versus Tesla, which is about $45 an hour. So when you look at what the UAW has been asking for, which is over a 40% increase over the life of the contract, and when you add up some of the other things and benefits that they've come in with their opening position, I mean, you're looking at widening that disparity, significantly. And the automakers cannot afford them.
Can they get half of what they want and it still pencil out?
It'll still pencil out because when you think about it, John, the Detroit 3 sell a lot more large SUVs and full-size pickups than some of their import competitors. And those have quite nice profit margins on them. But at the end of the day, as this transition to EVs happens, I mean, let's face it, EVs right now, with the exception of Tesla, nobody's making money. And as the automakers, the legacy automakers ramp up, they're going to have to work down the piece costs to get those EVs to an acceptable margin. So you could argue for a period of time, there's going to be a restructuring of their margins. And that's why every penny counts in building a car. And that's why I think the automakers are going to be quite strong in pushing back on some of these demands from the UAW in there.
Now, let's talk about that part. Okay, we got to restructure the profit margin. We got to restructure. Okay, what's going to end up happening as I close? What's going to end up happening is that as there's more requirements, more states that say you got to have electric vehicles, or it could be a federal government thing. We got to have X percentage of electric vehicles by X year. As that happens, you're going to see the average price of all vehicles go up as a result. It's going to happen because he said it right there. Nobody makes money on EVs aside from Tesla. And I'm not quite sure if they're making any money. But if the big auto manufacturers don't make money on EVs, the only way for them to make money is to raise the cost of the vehicles. That's it. Either they're going to raise the cost of the vehicles or they're going to lower the cost of the labor. And that's not going to happen. You got the UAW talking about there could be a strike because of the current cost of labor. So that's going to go up, and so shall the cost of the vehicle. So you got to make $100,000 or more to afford a new vehicle right now. Well, that's going to go up as long as we keep pushing toward EVs and this Green New Deal, carbon. As I close, I want to say this. Inflation is a real thing. That's part of this. The C-19, scandemic, supply chain shortage, all that is leading into everything costing more. Not just vehicles, but food, clothing, shelter. Everything right now costs more. And when there's a raise or there's an added title to your job, it's like, okay, how much am I making? How much more am I making than what I made before when I'm looking at how much things cost right now? Did I get a raise or am I still losing money? But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your thoughts on the cost of these new vehicles? I mean, I've seen some crazy prices. I mean, you're talking about Mustangs going for almost $100,000. I mean, like I've seen quite a few vehicles listed for over $100,000. I ain't talking about some of the supercars, Ferraris and whatnot. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about BMWs, nice cars, but I'm not paying $135,000 for a BMW electric SUV or a hybrid or whatever they call it. I'm just not going to pay that. Why would I ever? To spend 50 grand on a car is a lot. That's a lot for me. That's luxury status for me. New, used, I don't care. 50 grand, that's like the max I would ever pay. $100,000 for a car? I mean, I remember back in the day, there were houses that were nice houses listed for 125, 135. Back in the day, as I close for this time, I was probably in my mid-20s. I was trying to find a house, just seeing what was going on, curious looking. I could not afford one at the time, but I was looking. And I was coming across nice houses, decent houses in okay areas for like $135,000, $145,000. Now, cars are costing that. People have car notes of $1,500, $2,000 for a minivan. This is totally ridiculous, and I'm not really sure if it's going to be fixed anytime soon because, again, people that work in the auto industry, U.S., we got to get more money. Electric vehicles are expensive. They're going to need more money to pay for those, and they're already expensive. So I think the only way up from here is up. If you have a used car, baby it, take care of it, because that is going to be worth a lot of money in the future, in my humble opinion. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.